Hello and welcome to Security Scan. I am Vishal Dahiya and today we will talk about AMCA, that is Advanced Medium Combat Aircraft. AMCA is India's next indigenous fighter jet program after LCA Tejas. Aeronautical Development Agency of DRDO and Indian Air Force are working together on this project by building on the capabilities and expertise developed during the development of light combat aircraft, that is LCA Tejas. Now, AMCA will be a fifth-generation stealth fighter jet powered by two engines capable of super cruise speed. It will also have internal weapons bay and complex S-shaped serpentine intakes. First flight of AMCA fighter jet is expected to happen by 2032. For more on this, we're joined by a distinguished panel of guests today in the studio. And let me start by introducing these guests to you, beginning with retired Air Vice Marshal P.K. Srivastava, our defense expert. And we also have with us Dr. W. Selvamoorthy, former Chief Controller R&D from DRDO, and Mr. Ajay Banerjee, the defense correspondent of Tribune. Let me first come to you, AVM Srivastava, and let's put things in perspective for our viewers. We're talking about the advanced medium combat aircraft. One, what exactly do we mean by this? Is it a stealth aircraft? Is it an FGFA? What are we trying to convey here?
So, I think, Vishal, you're right in both ways. It's a stealth aircraft. Also, it's a fifth generation aircraft. So that way, it is a very big leap forward. I'll call it a quantum leap forward. And our expectation from AMCA is that what the year you talked about is the year of destiny for the Indian Air Force. As we have worked out in many, many ways, by then our upgraded aircraft would retire. And Air Force would be needing, if no inductions take place, because our retirement rate is faster than the induction rate, we'll be at a level where we need another 400 aircraft to come in. So I expect MMRCA 2.0 version will give us 114. And we'll be having an inventory which will be primarily of Su-30 MKI, MMRCA 2.0, and the Rafale, which we have taken. Sorry. Yeah. So, how do you fill in the gap? You got LCS coming in. For that, production has started, and we have our kind of comments on the rate of production, which we have discussed on many other program on your program several times.
And the work on Mark II version is also beginning.
Mark II is going on. So now AMCA, when it comes in, it's a boon and bane both. Boon in the sense, I see this as a kind of thing which will really set up the aerospace defense industry which we want to be set up in the country. Bane because I do not know whether by that time we'll be ready or not. But if you really ask me about my optimism, I'm optimistic about it because this time our approach to the program is different. We are trying to now, connect with major players in aerospace domain like L&T, like TSL, like Reliance, like Godrej, right from the beginning. And this program is also a modular approach. That means I give one module to one of these players or the HL and they work independently. Then HL does the integration. Also behind us, we have a learning of 30 years. I don't call it delay in LCA, whatever we have learned. It's a learning of 30 years, which is now available and spread in the system within the Indian, industry.
And developing on those capacities.
I need to just dovetail my fifth generation features or technologies. Now, that's not a small thing. As rightly, any skeptics who are there, I'll honor them too, because when you want to create an aircraft of this stature, which is very low observable or low observable, and which can fight the wars we are talking about of 2040, 2050, it'll be a different war game. You'll be fighting a war which is drone infested, which is air defense infested, where even a very low observable aircraft will be visible through either the satellite imagery or other things. So taking all that into consideration, I agree. This project has a great challenge ahead. And as we discuss or debate our things forward, what are the basic points that I can bring out?
Okay. Let me bring in Dr. Selvamoorthy here on two aspects, Dr. Selvamoorthy, since you've been with the DRDO and heading the R&D division as well. One is what kind of technologies are required to develop aircraft like AMCA, a fifth generation stealth aircraft, and where are we right now as in terms of our achievements and as the learning curve, as A.V.M. Srivastava was pointing out, from LCA Tejas, we have a lot to learn.
India must be very proud that today we have developed considerable indigenous capabilities in terms of developing aeronautic devices, including the 4th generation fighter aircraft, light combat aircraft Tejas. So we have come a long way, India has come a long way, and over the past 30 years or 40 years, now India has developed a very high level of capabilities, not only to develop this, an engine, a gas turbine engine, which we have reached considerable capability. Similarly for radars, which go into the Air Force application to fit into, including AMCA, that we need radars. Because you can classify the defense technologies into first sense what the enemy is doing, deny their sensing on us, our capability, whether it's the AMCA or any other systems. Then we must also reach the target as early as possible. So you need technologies to reach. One of them is the propulsion and reach through AMCA. Then you destroy. You need armaments, weapons. So now taking that as the gamut of technologies which is required for any defense technology. Now AMCA, Advanced Medium Combat Aircraft, is, as it shows, it's advanced. So we are looking at 5th generation fighter aircraft, whereas India has developed a 4th generation light combat aircraft Tejas. So now with the tacit knowledge, we are moving ahead into advanced medium combat aircraft, which is 5th generation, where first you need to sense what the enemy is, where's the target. So you need radar, sensors, sensor technology. So this advanced medium combat aircraft has a multi-role. It can do many roles, not like only deep strike. It can go into bombing. It can go into specific strikes. So it has a multi-role. And so that is one capability we should say, that it can play multiple role. It can be used by Air Force. It can also be used by Navy. So it has a multi-role aircraft. And in the sensor, an advanced radar, which is known as the AESA, Active Electronically Scanning Array Radar. So this will give a situational awareness, because this is moving at supersonic speed. The AMCA will move at a speed of close to about 2 Mach speed. So if it is moving at that speed, then you need to sense and have the real-time situational awareness. So that will be given by radars. Then incoming targets, you should detect them. Like a missile is coming, anti-aircraft surface-to-air missile or air-to-air missile. So you need to sense them in real time, so that you will be able to give the countermeasures. Then you may have radar signals, so you have to blunt the radars so that you are not seen by the enemy.
The stealth features.
Stealth features. So you need to block that. So you need first a very strong sensor which will go into AMCA so that you have the situational awareness.
Okay.
Then after that you need the speed to reach the target. So that is where this is supersonic speed AMCA will give that. Maximum is 2.3 Mach is the maximum speed. But on an average at cruise, it will have about 1.6 to 1.8 Mach speed. So that speed, you need to get them by the engine. So you need the heart of that is engine for propulsion.
And it will be powered by 2 such engines.
That's right. So now the Kaveri engine, K9 and K10, which is indigenously developed, but it has reached only certain level of thrust, which is required to propel this. So we are now developing the 3D thrust system, which will give that 110 to 125 the kilonewton thrust, which you need to carry the payload as well as the fuel, which will also be a payload. So you need that propulsion to carry that load. That is why it's known as medium combat. Light will be very light as well as highly maneuverable. Here it is maneuverable, but then it can carry a higher payload. So you need that propulsion. Then after you have reached them, you need armament. So we are looking at the technologies like guns. We are looking at 20 millimeter gun, cannon to go in. And also we are looking at missiles to be integrated. Can we integrate BrahMos? Because now BrahMos is getting integrated into Sukhoi. So can it be integrated here? So we look at the indigenous armaments as well to go into the system.
Okay.
So these are some advanced, and stealth is very important. Stealth cannot be only by coating by radar absorbing, radar signal RCS absorbing paints, but we are looking at the configuration itself when you are designing it.
The geometric stealth.
Geometric stealth. So can you reduce that by the configuration change, geometric way by which you can give the stealth so that the enemy cannot detect your aircraft.
Okay.
That's very important for survivability.
Okay.
Survivability, sustainability, mobility, accuracy, and firepower.
Okay.
These are the ones in AMCA.
Okay, so these are the 5 major points which will be the focus area out there. And we'll come to the stealth part and other features as well, and what exactly is Indian Air Force looking for. But let me first bring in Ajay here. Ajay, that sums up what exactly are we looking for when we are talking about AMCA. But this journey from, nothing to LCA Tejas, and now from LCA Tejas to AMCA.
Vishal, I must put a caveat. I always bat for the HAL and DRDO. They are our prime Navratnas, as we may call them, and they need to be bucked up. They need to be given more powers to make new things. However, I'll put two things on the AMCA. First of all, when we are buying 114 fighter jets, we are out with a tender. The Indian Air Force is looking at 114 fighter jets. I am very sure the winner of that tender will be asked to contribute in the AMCA process also. Point number 2, when we talk of the first flight of AMCA 2032, personally speaking, having covered the Ministry of Defense for almost a decade and a half, this is far, far too away. Because look at China, look at other countries, they are producing newer models very, very quickly. We have learned the Tejas, learning of the Tejas was 30 years. Great, we have done a good job. The medium weight fighter, also called the Tejas Mark II, is supposed to be in 2025. Why can't the AMCA come 5 years earlier? As AVM Srivastava pointed out, in 15 years' time, we will be needing to go, Sukhoi will be going away, and even the MiG-29s may have gone away. And possibly even some of the Tejas may be starting to go away by that time. So we need a fighter probably in 5-7 years' time, because the world will not wait for us to progress. We have to progress at the pace of the world. What we are trying, that we are progressing, okay, slowly, great, we have done it. But now we need speed. Speed is prime importance in this, because 2032, when you take the first flight, that means the plane cannot be inducted till 2037. That is almost 2 decades away. And from 2032, let me explain to our viewers, it will take around 5 years for testing, weapon testing, Air Force will validate it, there will be initial operation clearance, there will be a final operation clearance. It will be 5 years' time by the time the first squadron is raised. That is 2037 minimum.
Okay.
So that is 18-19 years away, Vishal. The world is not going to wait for us.
Okay.
I believe sincerely that Mr. Modi should look at this personally and crack the whip and advance the timelines by at least 10 years.
Okay.
Let the first flight take place in 2025.
Okay. As always, AVM Srivastava, both of you have been on quite a number of panels, and Ajay is quite specific on the timelines out there. Clearly, he is right in several aspects. And you also pointed out, that the learning curve for LCA Tejas was almost 30 years. So timelines apart, if you look at once this is put in motion, we can go ahead and track that part. But the requirements of the Indian Air Force, and as Dr. Selvamoorthy was putting out there, the capabilities of the AMCA, which we are building, both in terms of, its survivability, also the stealth features and the weapon features.
Okay, so if I amplify what Dr. Selvamoorthy has said, we definitely need ESA radar, there's no doubt about it, but we also need IRST. We will also need missile approach warning radar, that has to be there. But we need unstable aircraft so that it can do maneuvers which are very, very tight maneuvers, which can go into this, and powerful engines. Engines are coming from K9 and K10 project, and as Ajay has pointed out, we have already dovetailed Safran into it so that our K9, K10 can be at a level of 110 kilonewtons or 115 kilonewtons.
Something which is Indian Air Force's demand.
Which at the moment are around 78 kilonewtons or so. We need minimum 90 kilonewtons for that. So if that comes in, then you have more power behind the engine. And let's look at the fuel capacity. We are carrying 4 tons of fuel as of now, as the configuration is. And 4 tons of fuel can take you as much. So combat radius becomes around 1,000 kilometers. So in that sense, if you compare, let's say with F-35, if you want to compare with another 5th generation aircraft, they have about 9 tons of fuel. We have 8 hard points inside, which can carry, as was pointed by Dr. Saab, that it can carry BrahMos NG, or it can be integrated with other things. We also need a data link which connects with the, if we want to make it a real net-centric aircraft, which can be controlled from anywhere. So you need a data link. Now, if you need a data link, you need to define it. What is operational data link? Will it be something like NATO standard, which is Link 16? I think we are moving towards that, because we already have signed COMCASA. That was one of the impediments in going to this level. So, of course, our clause says that we need not necessarily buy our equipment from them, what we want to integrate, but that kind of facility has come up. So, I would say there is a window of opportunity for making this aircraft net-centric, for achieving the things we talked about, going through the modular approach, what we are talking about, and involving the major players in aerospace industry right from the very beginning.
Okay.
So I have a hope for it, but as has rightly been pointed out, and repeatedly we point out that not only you have to finish your design level or design level tasks very fast in an accelerated mode, in mission mode, what we keep calling these days. Also, you have to think of your manufacturing model right from beginning. The maintenance will become a major issue in times to come, because it's not the number of aircraft which matter actually. It is the serviceability of the aircraft which matters. How much time you invest into servicing the aircraft and what kind of maintenance efforts go into.
The turnaround time.
Turnaround time. I'll give an example which is if I want to change the engine of Mirage 2000, vis-a-vis I want to change an engine on MiG-27, the difference is nearly 8 to 10 times. So the kind of hold up you'll have during the war kind of scenario. So keeping all this in mind, this aircraft has to really go through the evolution, and the scientists and the people who are working in ADA, in HL and other organizations including NAL, CSIR, all those people have to concentrate in a mission mode, integrated mode, that this aircraft has to come out not only very fast from the design, also it has to be manufactured at a much faster rate. We have seen LCA production rate. It was 8, somehow we have managed to scroll through to 12 level now, after so many years, because this aspect was left behind. Now, the trick will lie, if you really see the trick will lie, can we think of a manufacturing element? Can we think of all our sensors fusion element? Can we think of ODL requirements right at this time when you're talking about the aircraft, not the prototype itself? We think of wholesome game right in the beginning, as if this aircraft is going to be launched and inducted into the Air Force tomorrow.
So that it will save us that precious time which Ajay was pointing out. Let me bring in Dr. Selvamoorthy again here. And Dr. Selvamoorthy, when we're talking about AMCA, that's Advanced Medium Combat Aircraft, two features which we started with was it will have stealth feature and it will be a 5th generation fighter aircraft. So to look at, and to understand it much better, what exactly do we mean when we talk about the stealth feature, and what kind of stealth feature are we going in for as far as AMCA is concerned?
See, normally your aircraft gives, through the configuration, a radar signals. So the enemy will pick up the mobility of your aircraft by looking at the radar cross-section emitting signals. It can also emit the thermal signature. It will have because you are having a hot body, so the IR, infrared sensors will detect besides the radars. And also you have airborne early warning and control systems like ABAX. We have the system which will detect the movement of the aircraft. So you need to reduce this detection part. That's why deny the sensing of your enemy by countermeasures, including the stealth capability. Stealth can be through the configuration change, because certain cut the edges will give that radar cross-section signals, RCS signals. So you can reduce that. You cannot totally eliminate, but certainly you can minimize the radar cross-section signals, so that your detection and survivability will be better. Then the next thing is in the stealth, you can also reduce your signatures of the thermal signatures, and you can have the paint, the RCS paints besides the configuration. You can have the paints which will reduce the RCS signals. So there's another way. So these are ways by which you will be able to reduce the detection by the adversary, and also it can increase the survivability of the aircraft. And so these are the stealth methodologies.
So initially we're deploying the geometric stealth in AMCA, and then we'll go in for the material stealth. Is that what we're trying to do?
That's right. First the configuration itself, because you are at the design stage now. So here itself, what is the minimum signature we can give it to the enemy? So we can modify these configurations.
Ajay, in the modern day scenario specifically, and a little bit in the future as well, because when you're looking at the timelines, the given timeline is around 2032. So the time when we will have AMCA, these capabilities, specifically the 5th generation aircraft and the stealth capabilities as well. How crucial they have become nowadays, and how crucial they might be in future for our Air Force?
See, Vishal, I always give a live example. Since 1950, end of the Second World War, till 2010-11, the world has seen great progress in technology. All the technologies which we are using at the moment, be it space, be it digital, everything came in before 2010. Now we are going to take a leap. The entire world is going to take a leap. From 50 to 2010, these 60 years are very important in humankind technology. Now comes the point which you ask, in 20 years' time, where do we stand? Where do we stand is very, very important, because in 20 years' time, possibly the drones, armed drones, will be in huge numbers. Will we be needing so many fighter jets, or we need more armed drones? That's a call probably the Cabinet Committee on Security or the NSA Sabha will have to take, that what is the exact number do we need, say in 2040, a scenario, a two-front war scenario, or a single-front war scenario, or even another adversary. Today we are only talking of two adversaries. There could be another adversary tomorrow. Who knows? Who knows, there could be another adversary. So we have to plan for the future in that manner. The number of aircraft, fighter jets, the technology which we are talking today may be overtaken in time, in next 20 years' time, very surely, by armed drones, which are going at a great speed at the moment, great accuracies, and leading countries now, the NATO countries, especially led by the US, have shifted to armed drones. And also, there was a time in Vishal, I'll take a little transgression, during the 60s and 70s, when an aircraft carrier was considered an impregnable fortress. Today, with the anti-ship missiles which are developed, an aircraft carrier is considered among the strategic circles as a sitting duck at sea, because the anti-ship missile can bring you down in probably 5 minutes. Okay, possibly you have an anti-missile system. Great. How long? But again, as we talk of AMCA, we need to marry in all the technologies which will be coming in. One of the key technologies will be armed drones, fighter jets, surveillance satellites, low-flying drones, and possibly better sensors which will give a better picture to the controllers in ground and also the pilot in the air.
Okay.
Will the pilot need to fire a missile from his jet, or do we fire from the ground? We are buying S-400 missiles for 40,000 crores. Possibly they are for use to hit at enemy aircraft only. So do we need to fly a fighter jet to hit an enemy aircraft, like Wing Commander Abhinandan did, or possibly it will be launched from the ground? Time will only tell, Vishal.
Okay, so we will have to keep on building on our capabilities as we move along. Before we bring this to an end, concluding comments from you, A.V.M. Srivastava and Dr. Murthy as well, on the overall picture here, and how do you sum up the AMCA project and the way it is moving ahead?
See, AMCA will have to struggle really very well. We are talking about engine stealth. Normally, engine stealth beats you when you go about the stealth properly. So in this case, we got a front engine stealth. We also got the rear engine stealth. Second thing we need to dovetail in our AMCA project is thrust vectoring, which again is a design-wise a little tough proposition. So we need to get over all these hurdles before we come to an IRST. When I want to cool the engines, when the engine is of very high thrust, the cooling itself creates a kind of challenge. When you do all this, the aircraft can become heavier. Like we started our AMCA journey from 20 tons, currently it is around 29 tons. Because when you have an aircraft of this size, you also want to put in weapon system inside. You want to have guns, you want to have laser guided bombs, you want to have all your missiles in place. And then you want to have reach. So for reach you need fuel, which I mentioned earlier was 4 tons versus 9 tons. So unless you have that kind of capability, which one dovetail makes the whole project very, very complex.
Okay.
Of course, we are having 80% composite material as body. And that gives us some lightening of the aircraft and gives us the weight in our for other things. So the basically the ADA and the DRDO has to think of all this so that it remains in the medium category. It doesn't become the heavy combat aircraft, and falls in the other category. It should remain that, and then it remains more maneuverable. If that can be done, and we can harness the 5th generation technologies and make it net-centric, I think it's a great game for the country and great game for everyone.
Okay, great one.
I'm
Dr.
very
Murthy?
optimistic that India, once we take it as a mission mode program, the advanced medium combat aircraft, working as a national goal, like ADA in the design, DRDO developing the technologies, systems, subsystems, components, devices, industries participating parallelly, and then manufacturing line, assembly line and testing. We can even look at public-private partnership. because we don't have to rely only on HAL. Yes, HAL has done a good job, but they may not have the capacity to produce n number which is required. So as was rightly pointed out by Air Marshal Srivastava and Ajay, we need to put it on a mission mode. In 7 to 8 years, we should have this. Government should go for a full-fledged sanction, because the sanction is yet to be given for AMCA. It's only for the initial feasibility and the design. Money has been allocated, but it requires a large investment as well. But it's a risky program, but we will win, because having the tacit knowledge to make a light combat aircraft. Now with that knowledge we can build, but certainly we have to give time, and once you do the parallel action and monitoring, rigorous monitoring reviews by a joint group, Air Force, DRDO, and also even we can bring in outside people from atomic energy and space to look at the program management, and then DRDO and ADA working with HAL, with Air Force taking the piloting role. I am sure AMCA will be a reality, and I am confident, Ajay, that we will be now, with that earlier experience, we will be able to achieve the timelines which you have mentioned, 7 to 8 years. We will see the AMCA flying in our country.
Okay, and I'm sure Ajay is going to keep a close watch on those timelines out there. So there it is, as our panelists have put out the details of the features, the characteristics and the technology being used for the advanced medium combat aircraft which Aeronautical Development Agency of DRDO is developing along with the Indian Air Force and 7